Hi guys, I tried to make a video so that you would not just have a disembodied voice teaching you about thesis statement claims and evidence, but I'm having a weird hair day, so instead you are getting a disembodied voice. What I want to do here is to talk you through the process of taking that thesis statement that you've worked on developing with your peer review groups and using the evidence from deliverable number 2, right, your rhetorical analysis process, using those notes to go ahead and figure out what claims and evidence. And hopefully this will result in a full outline and draft, and writing the essay will be super easy. So what I want you to do is pause this video and put in front of you the notes that you took for deliverable number 2 and your thesis statement. So take a pause and get those materials ready. Awesome. Now that you have everything in front of you, go ahead and take that thesis statement that you've been working on and write it on an index card or a clean sheet of paper. The idea is to have it in front of you. It's a lot to balance writing in your head, and so the more that you can keep information handy and at the forefront, the better. Once you have that done, I want you to read through the notes you took, looking for data that connects to your thesis statement. So for example, if your thesis statement is the purpose of the archive is to make people sad, that wouldn't be a great thesis, but let's say that's your thesis, then do you have notes about objects that make things sad, colors that make things sad? What is it that led you to that conclusion? And just go ahead and highlight it. All right, so we're going to pause again and go ahead and do that. And when you have that done, when you've read through all your notes and made your highlights, hit play again and we'll pick back up. All right, so just so we're keeping my spaciness real for you guys, after I told you guys to pause, I just sat here and waited as though you were in the room and pausing, so hopefully we all had some meaningful time there. Now that you have your thesis statement and your potential evidence, I want to talk a little bit about how to build a paragraph, because the paragraphs are the building blocks of the essay. I've told you guys before, I love paragraphs, probably a little bit too much, so let's talk about how this is going to work. So the first thing that you want to know is that a paragraph has 3 parts. Let's get to an actual pen. It's going to have your topic sentence, your evidence, your explanation of your evidence, and your connection back to your thesis statement. In this context, the topic sentence is sort of like the mini thesis for the paragraph. So just as your thesis statement for the essay needs to be a meaningful claim that then your topic sentences need to be smaller or subordinate claims that make statements that support your thesis statement. So if we are dealing with our hypothetical statement, the purpose of the archive is to make people sad, then the next thing you would say is the font in the archive is super depressing, right? So somebody might disagree with that, so it's an acceptable example. So then for evidence, you want to describe how you know your topic sentence is true. This can be done through language such as this can be seen in, or for example, any sort of terms that are kind of highlighting that, hey, I've made this claim and now this sort of data that I'm going to show you is going to serve as evidence, right? Don't assume your reader is going to understand why it's evidence. So the topic sentence, the font is sad, right? The evidence is on the splash page for the website, this font is drooping as though tears, and then the explanation is these tears connect to feelings of sadness, thus making the font sad. and then you're going to connect it back to your thesis statement. So I always suggest to my students that for the final sentences of their paragraph, they imagine that they're finishing the sentence, "This supports my thesis because," right? You can delete that template language or you cannot delete that template language. I don't care. But what it forces you to do is to set up a clear relationship between this topic sentence and your thesis so that you have an essay where it's a logically connected argument as opposed to a bunch of random thoughts and ideas. Some writers do really well by making outlines, which is where they might make a document that includes their thesis, topic sentence number 1, evidence, notes on connection, right? And they might do this and then have notes on their conclusion so that when they sit down to write, they have a sense of where they're going. Other writers like to let the magic happen. Draw a little wizard's hat, a wizard with a beard, and just sort of move forward, starting with the drafting of their introduction plus thesis and kind of just taking it on a paragraph by paragraph way so that they're writing and doing this kind of outlining or drafting work at the same time. Either way is totally fine, but what matters to me is that your paragraphs continue to follow this format. It matters so much that I'm going to make a clean slide so that when you press pause or stop, you can just keep it in front of you. As promised, here is your final slide, recapping the beauty of the paragraph and reminding you to call, text, or email me, make an appointment if you need clarification or want to talk through the drafting of your essay. Best of luck.